So as we move into chapter 16, Ibram introduces what I think is one of the core ideas he's been working up to in this book, and challenging us to sort of reverse our model of how we think about how change happens. So what I understand him to be saying is, we typically think we got to go out there and change people's minds about Black people, or women, or we got to change people's minds because then policies will change in our country.
Right.
And implicitly, that's the way I always thought.
Traditional.
And he's saying it's the opposite.
Right.
That when policies change, when neighborhoods got integrated, that ended up changing people's minds after the fact that, oh, integrated neighborhoods are not a threat. So let's relax and let's embrace it.
Yeah.
And so what do you make of that? It's a real paradigm shift.
It's almost freeing, because I think one of the things he says in the book is changing minds is not activism. And I remember thinking, whoa, I thought changing minds was activism, and that was exactly what we were going to do. But it just seems that if history is any indicator, it's just like you just said, people seem to be okay with things after a policy has changed, after Blacks are allowed to move into a neighborhood. We just had a fascinating conversation in our study group last week where people were talking about being stranded in a Black neighborhood. A white woman felt very threatened just because she was in a neighborhood that was populated by Blacks. And so we talked about unpacking this, why do you automatically feel threatened in a Black space? But we also talked about it's okay to feel the way that we feel. Like some of our trepidations are survival mechanisms, fight or flight. So it's natural to have that, but I think we have to allow ourselves to have these sort of thoughts. I was also sharing with you that last week, or a few weeks ago, my husband and I had some work done around the house. I wasn't going to be home, so I told the repairman, I said, I won't be there, but my husband will be there, and he'll show you exactly what you need to do. And I thought, 20 years ago, I don't know if I would have been comfortable saying that. I thought, this person's going to have a whole lot of judgment on the other end of this phone. Maybe he won't even show up. Maybe he'll give us poor service. What has changed is the Supreme Court ruling that says, gay marriage is legal. And it seems like people's attitudes were, the sky did not fall in. We have not lost all of our moral centers. People aren't hanging from the chandeliers having sex. It's not the end of the world. And so it's just kind of made life easier as society has been more accepting of same-sex couples. We have miles to go. I'm not trying to say it's all over. But I just feel there's some truth to, Dr. Kendi also lists how white people are enthusiastic now for interracial marriage. My experience with history is that was frowned upon. But in actuality, it's kind of common these days, and it's not a social uproar. A lot of that happened after the Supreme Court Loving decision where interracial marriage was legal. But it is true that policies have to change before we can change people's minds. And that kind of turns on its head the way we've been fighting for civil rights for so many years.
And I think Kendi concedes that once the policy has changed, that changing people, that work to help people see it is productive, but that it's what comes after, not before. And of course, that then raises the question of, so how do you create policy change without changing people's minds? And he gets into that in the next couple chapters. So for now, let's dig into this.